Of sweet Jesus, taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is far sweeter. We are here together again, me and Scott. He's here, and we hope you can join us as we talk about what is at least interesting to us. Hopefully it's interesting to you as well. But again, hoping that this idea of just seeing how Jesus is sweet. Jesus is awesome. And we're here from live from the Open Arms Podcast studio, and we hope that you will pull up something sweet and delicious and good. I brought in my Nature Valley protein bar, peanut butter, dark chocolate. There was definitely chocolate. It's probably not all that healthy, even though it says like protein bar on it. But finally, I got Scott to agree to bring some ice cream. Or to have some ice cream. And as you can see, we were just talking about this. If you're on the video instead of the audio, you probably heard it. He was talking about, I told him, hey, man, you're being so disciplined. And just looking at that ice cream, leaving it there. And I clearly not.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to decide my tactic if I'm going to eat each one of these little crunchies first.
Oh my goodness. I am never giving you ice cream again.
and then the challenge would be, can I eat this during the whole episode? Or will it's like how many licks to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
I triple dog dare you.
I'll be wearing
you
it.
You will be wearing it. You'll be wearing it in about 5 minutes.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Haagen-Dazs whatever bar?
Well, this is sure shaping up to be an exciting episode, so get yourself something sweet, a brownie, a cookie, a bowl of ice cream, a Haagen-Dazs bar.
And eat it one little tiny nut at a time.
Yeah, savor it. Savor it. But you were talking about your wife. Like she'll just plow through a bunch of candy. Oh, that's totally me. And you'll like save it and savor it.
Savor every little. Yeah, I can make one piece of candy last for, I don't know, a long time.
That's ridiculous.
Like, have you ever ate the little hot tamales?
Like the Mike and Ike type things.
Yeah, one thing like that. I can suck all the flavoring off the outside till it gets so the inside is clear. It's like a clear little jelly thing, all the way down, and then that all the way down until it's.
You make me sick.
That could take 10 minutes for one little hot tamale. So there you go.
Well,
I have skills that people have no idea. They probably wish they didn't now.
Well, that is remarkable discipline. I will say, though, that, my wife is the opposite. Like, I'll try to set aside some things for her so that she can enjoy a bag of something that we get, like these Ghirardelli chocolate-covered, like caramel-centered chocolate things, the squares that they have, or I don't know, whatever it is. Okay, everybody, I've plowed through it. The kids have plowed through it. Whoa, let's save some for Mom. And then it will sit there for like months.
She's eating one piece a week or something.
And eventually I just am like, not even, I'm just like, I want one.
Are you gonna eat this or not?
Exactly. And sometimes she's just like, oh, well, I didn't even know it was there. I was like, well, I told you it was there.
I was gonna eat that.
Or I was just gonna go eat it, Like, it's been 6 months. It was expiring, It's like, no, I ate it. What do you want? Get over it. So anyway.
I find that in couples it's the case. I mean, it could be the male, could be the man, could be the woman, but
there's a lot of opposite attract
thing,
type things going on. Yeah. So
we got some friends, and the wife is like me in that regard, and the husband's like like Janet in that regard. So yeah, it changes.
Well, I hope we got you laughing. We're laughing, obviously, but laughing at your own jokes doesn't mean they're funny. Have you ever seen?
am I doing?
Shut up. Stupid ice cream. Good Morning Vietnam. You know the movie with Robin Williams?
Yeah, it's kind of obvious every Sunday that I've seen Good Morning Vietnam.
How is it obvious every Sunday?
Good morning, open arms.
Well, but that doesn't mean you've seen Good Morning Vietnam. Good Morning Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Well, I watched it. I was on a plane, and they had a bunch of movies you could watch, and I actually that was one of the selections. I watched it, and it was just, I just made that comment about laughing at our own jokes. You know the guy, he plays a character in a lot of movies. He's never like the star, but he plays a lot of but he's the guy that's gunning for him.
Other than Robin Williams, I'm having a hard time remember who else was in the movie. So
he's the guy that they replace Robin Williams' character with when he goes too far and they suspend him or whatever. And they put this guy in, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so funny. I got all these jokes." And he gets in there, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, somebody stop!" He's just awful. So just because you think you're funny doesn't mean you're actually funny. But speaking of being funny and laughter and all that kind of stuff, we are going to talk about whether Jesus laughed or not.
Yeah, I proposed the question because I saw on Jonathan Pageau's site, I mean, not that I hadn't podcast or whatever, shorts, whatever it was, a short of his, and he made a comment about, or that's what the little short was about, that Jesus never laughed. It's not in the Bible anywhere that he laughed. It's obvious that he didn't laugh. So then he went into kind of trying to explain on maybe the reasoning why he didn't laugh. So I don't know how far you want to go with that, but
so I did watch that video. You sent me the video, and I don't know. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just not exactly this. And I like Pageau. He has some helpful things, but he's not like, he's got some helpful things. And sometimes it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why are we talking about this? It's this idea of like, how many, something on the head of a pin or something. Like there's a old line about like some Catholic theologian, like he was trying to figure out how many things are on the head of a pin, or how
many angels or
something
fairies
like that.
or something.
Like you could fit on a
head of a pin. Yeah.
Some weird thing. Like it's like contemplating the inane, ridiculous foolishness when there are so many more important things to not only talk about, but to actually do. Like, come on. Why are we talking about this?
Because I texted you one day.
Because you texted me about it. Exactly.
And I said, well, I'm contemplating whether or not Jesus laughed or ever laughed or not.
So
and you're like, what?
What kind of stupidity is this? Yeah. Well, but you're contemplating it because he's talking about it,
Yeah,
No.
Well, maybe there's a meaning there. Maybe that's trying to tell us that maybe we shouldn't be joking around so much. I don't know.
Well, interestingly enough, this Sunday, which you will mercifully miss,
oh boy.
is definitely going to go after the buddy Jesus idea that, the text itself. I don't want to give it all away, but the text itself is these encounters with God. With Jesus, and people don't just like, hey, oh my buddy, the buddy Jesus pick, like, hey, right? Like sometimes I think maybe we are a little too familiar with Jesus in that sense, like we're a little too, we don't have the same sort of reverence and respect that maybe we should have. But Jesus, the Bible is explicit about this in a number of places. He is like us in every way, except one, without sin.
Maybe sin was the original sin was
Sin was
laughter.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, History of the World Part 1. I bring you these 15 10 commandments. Yeah, that's the first sin. That's right. Oh gosh. Well, so it all starts because I guess there's actually a church father that brings this up.
Yeah, I didn't go back and research
And that's
that.
why Pagio, because Pagio, what did he say? John Chrysostom, something like that, or John of some church father wrote a bunch about how Jesus didn't laugh, and the thing that he made sort of the case with was that in order to laugh, you have to be surprised.
Right.
And I will grant that there is an element of surprise in good comedy. But I would also say that really good comedy, you know what's coming and you laugh anyway. Right?
Yeah, in some cases.
Like, you don't even have to give the
Like,
punchline.
dang nabbit.
You don't even have to give the punchline. Right? You just, and then the audience gets it and they laugh. Right? The other piece, well, first off, let me back up a little bit first. You know, we mentioned History of the World, Part 1. Spaceballs came to mind. Okay, I don't know. I don't know why. Okay.
Same director.
Same director. Who's the director? Anyone? Bueller?
Drawing a blank on the. I can see his face, but I can't.
See, you're laughing, and there's no surprises. I mean, the surprises may be coming, but you're
say it. I can't think of it.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, yes.
And he is what?
Jewish.
He's a Jew. There you go.
Okay.
The funniest people in Hollywood are Jews. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus laughed hysterically. I guarantee it.
Maybe the Pharisees were the ones that were laughing. That's why he was mad at him all the time.
No, I think they were the stuck-up ones.
Mm.
They couldn't laugh at themselves. Those are the people that, you know. Some people.
How am I doing?
Terribly. We're only 12 minutes in, and you're almost done.
Oh. Failure. Failing.
No, but the worst people in the world are people that take themselves way too seriously, aren't they?
I guess. I have to think about that. I'm gonna contemplate that.
You really think
I'll
the
get back with you.
Pharisees were like great comedians?
No.
They're self-righteous. They're too busy obsessing over minutia. They're the kind of people that ask questions like, did Jesus laugh? Oh,
Maybe.
Maybe that was a surprise.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
it works. But so first off, Jesus is a Jew. And as we know, some of the funniest people in the world are Jewish, right? Mel Brooks, Jerry Seinfeld,
Right.
I mean,
I think almost the whole cast, except for Cosmo Kramer, maybe.
There you go. Who else? I don't know. I didn't brainstorm this beforehand, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
So
my mind goes blank.
Jesus is Jewish.
So that's your argument?
Well, no, that's not the whole argument.
Oh, okay.
But you know, Spaceballs. Right. So Mel Brooks.
May the Schwartz be with
you. May the Schwartz be with you.
Was he the director of Princess Bride?
Men in Tights.
Men in Tights. Oh, okay.
No, Princess Bride was way too polite.
So I guess I'm just thinking about
where men, women in tights. Tights, you know, like we wander around the forest looking for fights. Fights, you know, like this. We're men. The chastity belt at the very end. Oh my God. He says,
"You're making my ice cream melt."
Yeah, there's another. He actually plays a part. Mel Brooks in Men in Tights. He's a Moyle.
Oh boy.
And he's like carrying all this wine or beer or something. I think it's wine in the back. He's got these barrels, and they stop him, and it's like, we're Robin Hood's merry men. And like, I don't know if I can say what he says. He's like, no, just merry. And oh, what are you? You're a moil. What is that? Well, we just nip the tip. And then he shows them with like a candle, and they're like, like, what? So again,
Well, you think that whole process was a joke that God was putting on us? Not us, but the Jewish people.
what do you mean?
The whole circumcision thing.
Oh, that was a joke play.
Not that there was a joke played on it, but those shows that God had a sense of humor.
I
always heard giraffes was was a reason or a way to prove that God had a sense of humor, just
Why?
because they're just so absurd.
So weird, yeah, maybe. Well, and so in that same video for Pajot, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes into how the Bible is comedy.
Right. Yeah, he talked about.
He talked about Jonah is like
Jonah.
clearly meant to be a comedy of some kind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reread it with that in light because
Well,
it did seem a little,
it's kind of ridiculous, like hyperbolic, sort of. But he said that there was someone who had actually, I guess, memorized it and read just the text of the Bible for Jonah, but also performed it.
Right.
And that was hilarious. And I'm like, who's the author of the Bible? Are there people? Yes. Well, first off, it was a Jew. Okay. It was clearly a Jew. Funny people. And then, I like to think I'm somewhat funny, and I have Jewish heritage along the line. There's
Better watch out. The moral will hear you.
my grandfather was raised, his dad was Jewish, but non-practicing because he was basically working on, Broadway, doing all kinds of musical acts. He was in show business from the time he was like 10, making money to support his family because his dad died or dad left or dad something. So when he was 12 years old and he's supposed to start getting ready for his bar mitzvah, he had to decide, and he just decided to take care of his family. So that's what he did. And he did that his entire life. He earned money and he took care of a lot of people. But he wasn't a practicing Jew. And then my grandfather kind of grows up with that. And at some point, he's obviously not tied to that, but he becomes a Christian. There's, an unfortunate family shunning, I guess, that happens from part of the family because of that. So, but he became a Christian and married my grandmother, and that's how we're kind of basically a Christian family, at least on that side. So, so I have the background, and I think he was funny. Everybody talks about his sense of humor. I got a little bit of it. I was fairly young, not super young when he died, but in my 13, 14 maybe. And my family, they get together, they're all making jokes. It's funny, so I just to back that up.
Okay.
But Spaceballs also, all right? Like, this isn't only true for Spaceballs, but I was having a conversation with somebody, and we got on this thing about Spaceballs. There was a line that just fit, and I shared it, and they laughed, and then they were back and forth on different lines and talking about it. It was hilarious, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking about, I got to watch that show again. I got to watch that movie again. What would happen if I watched that movie again?
It wouldn't be as funny, or you'd be anticipating the scenes.
It's coming, and it's almost funnier. Is it not? Is it not?
Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, if I watched it every day for like 6 months, yeah, it would get boring. Like, oh yeah, keep firing. But I don't know. I think some of the funniest things, it's coming, and it's funny because it's funny, and you just need to laugh, right? And laughter is good. Laughter is the best medicine, right? We actually know that as like almost, it's a fact of science, of medicine.
Was that in Proverbs somewhere?
Actually, I think there are some biblical verses about
Laughter?
being, at least, I don't know. We'd have to research that a little more. I don't want to say too, but I swear there's some things in there about laughter.
Okay,
About
so
being joyful.
this is
and-
like winning without losing, losing without winning, winning without losing, losing but winning, something like that.
yeah, because you enjoyed it, and it's
Yeah.
not all over your shirt.
Yep.
Happy to lose this one.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
You want me to try again?
yeah, go get another one. Doesn't count now. We're already
All right.
halfway through here, you know? Anyway, so some of the best thing, and it's not just Spaceballs. It just happened to be I was having that conversation with somebody, and it dawned on me those two things, Mel Brooks, and then, hey, I'm laughing because I know it's funny, and it's coming. I see it coming. I'm anticipating it. You know, Psych, the TV show Psych, which, you know, apparently you're grinning and bearing it, you know, like just slugging through, stiff upper lip to try and suffer through this.
I only saw
Miserable.
only saw 4 episodes.
Oh,
so-
you got to keep going. But we watch that thing all the time, and it's still funny. You know,
Seinfeld, still funny.
yeah, you find things. It's funny, and you know it's coming. You know,
But then I know somebody from work, well, he's retired now, but anyway, from work that used to tell me he didn't laugh at Seinfeld. He said Seinfeld was ridiculous. Those are some of the most despicable characters he had ever seen in his life. Why would anybody enjoy
Ouch.
watching them? And I'm like, well, when you think about it, that's very true. They are despicable people, but that's kind of where the humor comes in.
wow.
I mean, he didn't mean them like as actor, you know, as human beings, but just the characters.
Well, they are pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, that's real people are like that. I mean, maybe slightly exaggerated. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, George and the whole wedding to Susan that never happened, you know, because he got the cheap stamps and she licked them to put the and
Pretty
she died.
despicable.
And then he's like trying to contain his joy. He's like, this is terrible. So, yeah, I mean, you know, right? Laughter isn't only like, you know, it's coming. You've seen it already. And I think there are things that are just funny, right? Like you're not anticipating, you're not like, you just laugh because you're having a good time, you know?
Could be.
And sometimes you laugh at the things you're saying, right? So I'm sure
Excuse me.
with those funds and noons that he had for disciples, at some point he said like, "Oh,
Maybe that's
you
why he
do
kept
that?
going up to the mountain. I have to go up
I
to the
had to go
mountain.
to the mountain.
He's up there slapping his knee, going, "Wow, these guys are killing me." Oops, that's not a good one.
Well, and then so think about this: his first miracle is done where?
the water to wine.
The water into wine.
That's
It was
funny.
an awful lot of wine. You know what happens when people just start laughing. Nothing's funny. They're just laughing. It's just joy, right? And Jesus was invited to that wedding
to bring joy.
to bring joy. That's what the wine is not only literally does, but it also symbolizes the joy of the Messiah. I think there's no way that Jesus didn't laugh. You know,
It's not well documented.
no, it's not. But it's, you know, he was just like us in every way except one. So why would he not laugh? I mean, I think his joy would be a perfect joy. Like not what most of TikTok is like, oh man, look at this moron. Let me watch and enjoy their pain.
So he wouldn't
know?
laugh at jokes or whatever humor at people's expense, probably.
There you go. Which is actually a lot of what we laugh at most of the time. Like kids especially, you know, they just, all you have to do as like a dad of a young kid is like let your kid hit you over the head with a styrofoam or cardboard or something, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah. And
and then they just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. One thing I used to do, the kids were on swings, right? And, they'd swing and then they'd come up and, I'd like act like I got kicked in the face or something. And they just laughed hysterically at that. Just laughing at my pain, not real pain in that case, but,
yeah.
like that idea. Yeah. Maybe Jesus didn't laugh at stuff like that.
But that could be the surprise thing again. Like they weren't expecting it the first time, and then when it happens again, they still laugh because it was a
So
surprise.
the first one was surprise, but the second one is more just we enjoy watching other people suffer.
I don't know. I haven't really come up with a good theory for laughter, so I'm not sure. That's not well thought out. But
Well, I mean,
it could be.
I'm not sure this is something we should have to prove, really. But if we're going to a feast, name a feast where there isn't laughter. Name a celebration where there isn't laughter. I mean, if you got one without laughter, it is one miserable party. Like, everyone's there because they have to be there.
I went to I remember one in particular. I went to a funeral that was related to a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a while. So I went to the funeral, and it was, a family member of his or whatever. So it was almost like a reunion because I hadn't seen him in a while, several years. Anyway, so I went, and we start talking, and and pretty soon we're at the funeral, we're laughing, and I'm like, people like looking at us like, I'm like, oh my gosh, who invited this guy?
The Christian.
It's laughing at somebody's funeral. Kind of felt bad about it, but
well,
he was laughing too, and it was his family member. So,
well, but it's good to laugh. I mean, what do they say? Laughing and crying are kissing cousins is an expression. I've heard something like that, and I know, like as a pastor, I've been in some really weird situations, really sad and just the situations where you wouldn't think people are happy, and yet you're laughing like that. I think it's a defense mechanism type thing, and it's also like when you're doing pastor stuff and you're around death and dying and that kind of stuff, sometimes you're just not, you're desensitized to it a little bit. Like, there's a funeral director every now and then where, you get in the car and you're joking around because you're not, it's not your person,
it's
right?
one of those live mic moments, huh?
And yeah, well, thank God. No, it's not, but yes, if it was, whew. But you got a dead body in the back and you're driving out to the burial site, and sometimes, like if it's a long ride, joking around. I remember one time, this one time was definitely like a defense mechanism. We were in, I think it was Guatemala. There was a group of us. We were trying to find projects to do, and there were people like digging through garbage to find anything they could, to find things they could sell that they could like recycle and get. I don't know if it was like the deposits or if they could actually use it for something. Like, why would they have deposits for Guatemala in a place with that much poverty? And so we're taking this in and absorbed it probably about as long as we could. It was a good while. It wasn't like 2 hours. It was 20 minutes of this. We were going from different places, and then there was just something happening. And it was a bunch of, what's the right word? Irreverent Lutheran reverends, right? Who are particularly irreverent as far as clergy goes. And something was going on, and we just started laughing. And there's this guy trying to like document everything, and he's videoing this seriously sad scene. and we had obviously had about as much of it as we could. And, we just start joking about some ridiculous thing that's happening, like something going on there. And, he's like, guys, I'm trying to take this video of a real serious thing. So, I would say Jesus probably was perfect in the sense that his laughter was appropriate. Whereas like sometimes ours is not, because Jesus fully immersed himself in all that it meant to be human. And I think he could be fully present, right? And so he would be in that moment, in the pain, in the suffering, in a way that we couldn't be. And we see that John 11, Lazarus is dead and Mary and Martha are there, and he comes and he sees everybody weeping, and he doesn't laugh and he doesn't make a joke to deflect the feelings, right? He weeps, right? Shortest verse in the Bible. But then, at Cana, I'm sure he laughed. Somebody said something funny, and maybe he even knew it was coming, and he was just like, oh man, I can't wait for him to say this, and see the look on all these other people. Like he was just like he thoroughly absorbed that moment with all the pain and suffering and misery and the compassion he felt for them at the tomb of Lazarus. He also took in that joy and the celebration that was going on in Cana and enjoyed that fully. I mean, that would be my defense of Jesus laughing, or at least part of it. Do you buy it, or am I just being?
I think you balanced out the argument as an argument, the discussion on did he or didn't he? You've given good evidence that he did, probably did, although there was never written down anywhere. I mean, he wept. He could have put and he laughed.
Yeah, one place it said he wept. Right.
There was another verse the other day that I saw. I was like, I don't remember him. I remember reading that one where he wept or something. It was
John 11:38, I think, 35.
Also mentioned him. It's not the shortest verse one, but
Jesus wept. That's the shortest verse in the Bible.
Right, but I thought there was another one. Somebody came.
He definitely has compassion. It says deeply moved.
Oh, okay.
In a variety of places, he had compassion, but it doesn't say he wept exactly. Maybe he did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he wept. So here's the other thing, right? Jesus' childhood. A lot of people speculate like he's doing miracles and things like that, but if he did, it wasn't publicly.
Well, his first miracle was supposed to be
at Cana, right? Now, maybe, clearly Mary knew that there was something special about Jesus and expected some things. Did he do miracles like, like, hey, Jesus, I need help with the laundry today? Like, bam, done, I don't know. There's no record of that. But I would also say that there's this. Everybody that knew him, this is a couple weeks ago now, everyone said, isn't this Joseph's son? Like, nothing special here.
Right.
That backs up the idea that there's no miracles because the people that he was growing up around. But if there's no miracles, then he's just normal. He's just like everybody else. He probably laughed, And, Jesus had his diapers changed, right? Like, this was a bizarre conversation I had with a friend of mine on a podcast in the past that, Jesus had his diapers changed. Like, gross, right?
Yeah.
What Jesus matured and went through puberty. Right? He went from being a Jewish boy to being a Jewish man.
Yeah.
So maybe there's no miracles.
So you mean there was a time in there when he was talking and his voice cracked?
Probably, yeah.
Squeaky, whatever. Went squeaky on him.
And maybe even a time where he was surprised.
You think?
I don't know. Maybe not like surprise, but enough where, he's human enough that the joke dawns on him and he laughs. I don't know. I think that part's, a little bit more controversial, maybe a bit more of a stretch, but Jesus' childhood is probably a lot more normal than most people want to believe. And then you have those, and it's not just the one we read a couple of weeks ago in Luke 4. There's a couple of spots, other gospels like, hey, this is just a dude, right? This is just the guy from Nazareth. Like, what? He's just a man. He's
the guy who never laughs.
No, I think that would have made him stand out more.
Yeah, true. He's always so serious.
I mean, so think about this one story. Jesus is teaching people, and there's a crowded house. They lower this guy in through the roof, and he says, I've never seen such faith. Your sins are forgiven you. And he can tell that the people, the Pharisees that are there, like thinking to themselves, wait a second, only God can forgive sins. That's blasphemy. Who is this guy? And then he says, which is easier to do, to say your sins are forgiven or to tell them to get up and walk? And he says, but so that you know that the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins, I say to you, get up and walk. That epic. I mean, that would have drawn a few laughs, like inward like chuckles, like, what do you think is easier to do? Guys, come on. I mean, maybe there's some of that going on in some of this stuff too. I don't know. But like I said at the outset, I do empathize, sympathize, whatever the heck the right word is, with this idea that maybe we should take Jesus as a more serious person, not as like that image, the Buddy Jesus picture,
right?
Or the Burger King kind of looking costume.
Well, Jonathan Pageau mentioned movies, right? And I remember the movie from when I was a kid that we watched. It was always around Easter, I guess, because it was it was also near Passover. Was the Ten Commandments always, usually like 2 nights because it was such a long movie. And then the other one was The Greatest Story Ever Told. And I don't remember the actors and all that in there, but the guy that played Jesus was very stoic from what I remember,
But I would say that's just, religious people taking themselves too seriously.
And then, then his other, well, he didn't particularly mention this one, specifically, but in The Chosen, he does laugh in The Chosen, and,
He laughs a lot. He actually does mention it in the video. But then he says, but I don't want to, talk bad about The Chosen, basically, I think is what he says.
Okay, yeah.
So he actually stops at, because in The Chosen, he does laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that people love that show so much and are so moved by it, I think that's probably more accurate. Like, I know we have probably a lack of reverence in general in our culture today, and so maybe that's why people are more attracted to this less distant, stoic kind of Jesus. But I think people are basically the same. Like, culture has changed, but people are still basically the same. I think they're drawn more to a guy who's joyful and who's laughing and who doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah, because if you're, like that other movie where he's so stoic, it's almost, he's not approachable.
Yeah.
He's just, you're waiting for the judgment to come on you or whatever, kind of things like, what do I do? This guy's just like.
Well, as someone who takes himself too seriously sometimes. Seriously, as someone who takes himself, believe it or not, shocking, I know, as someone who takes himself too seriously sometimes, definitely doesn't help you win friends and influence people. And actually, the text that I'm looking at for Sunday is a moment where people have been clearly treating Jesus as if he is this regular guy special but regular guy in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a situation that happens again. I don't know. I mean, I can just talk about it or not. I try and keep it vague,
Right. Yeah.
keep a secret. See if you can figure out which Bible passage this is, or tune in on Sunday. But then there's this thing that happens that they see Jesus do, and then this person who becomes a disciple, right, is so moved that he really, really, really gets who Jesus is finally, and he is brought to his knees.
Mm.
So that's, again, I would say another source of support to say that Jesus was not somebody who took himself too seriously. He was a relatable guy, and it took those moments to draw out the seriousness, you know. Anyway,
Yeah.
whatever.
I could see that.
Laugh, for crying out loud. Don't take yourself too seriously.
I guess it would be interesting, I guess, to find that church father that wrote about the fact that he didn't laugh and see what that perspective was. But it was just so kind of, I had never, I don't know, spent a lot of time thinking about that Jesus was making jokes or laughing or whatever. But when he said that, I was like, yeah. And, I don't remember a time in there where, in the Bible where he says, where that's, written that he was laughing. It's like, I have to think about that, because I don't know, it could change your outlook on some things, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's a no big deal kind of situation, but I don't know. Anyway, that's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was enough to make him do the podcast, and it was so evidently it's a question, and maybe it was based upon the Chosen and the fact that he does
Do a lot of laughing.
do a lot of laughing in that, which I haven't seen. I like it, and I watched it. I like it. That doesn't seem odd or off, or just destroys the character or what you would think of as the character, because he's still serious in serious times. Or
see, he's perfect and is perfectly emotionally appropriate in every moment. That's what I would say about Jesus. And hey, I will agree that the evidence in Scripture is not abundantly clear.
Right.
And I would be fine being corrected by Jesus himself when I see him face to face. Hey, I ain't that funny. In which case I would laugh. In which case it would, and maybe get myself in trouble.
And neither are you. So get in line over there.
Oh,
yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. Ever since your grandfather's been up here, yucking it up.
Turning people's heads, getting people rolling around on the floor, laughing, and I don't think it's a.
We definitely need more. Well, I mean, definitely need more Jews. It sounds like going to heaven though, so we can have a little laughter.
Oh, there's gonna be a ton of them.
Good.
Ton of them.
Good.
There's.
There's plenty of them in the Bible, but.
Yeah, I mean that's who the first Christians. That's who they all are. They're all
right,
Jewish.
But we need more.
And there's very, very dedicated messianic Jewish outreach ministries. People who themselves Jewish but believers in Yeshua is what they would say, right? That's really how you would say his name. And if you're reading kind of the Hebrew, and there's some stories out there too. I mean, there's accounts on Instagram. I'm not thinking of all the names right now. There's one for Israel, I think. There's a group on YouTube. They have, some of those testimonies are just unbelievable. They're just so powerful. I mean, God literally like grabbing a hold of people, just stuff that we read about in the Bible. He's still doing it. He's doing it in the lives of these people, these Jewish people. He's calling back to himself, to his son, Jesus. So, but
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, so lighten up, everyone, and
lighten up.
get to know Jesus. It's
Yeah.
very serious, but it's very good too.
Well, that's, we have a lot going on in the world right now, and there are a lot of people taking it very seriously, and maybe on all sides to a degree. Some in cases too seriously, some appropriately so, maybe some not so seriously. I do think that we got to be careful not to take ourselves too seriously. I think our natural tendency is to think of ourselves as more important than we really are. And just trusting that God's going to work something out, that God has a sense of humor, and some things are just going to come together in unique ways. And, yeah. But that being said, there are this idea of asking, hey, in The Chosen, maybe he's laughing. We don't know what spurred the question, right? But maybe
Right.
someone's watching The Chosen, and that's why they asked Pajot, this guy, Jonathan Pajot, mixing up with Justin Trudeau.
No.
Let's not go there. Oh, wow. Let's talk about laughter. All the kinds of...
funny in a sad way.
Anyway.
He needs Jesus.
We all need a little more Jesus. But Jonathan Pajot, the reason why someone's asking is because, there have been some criticisms about The Chosen, that some of the things that are in there are not explicitly in the Bible. And I get that. And I respect that, actually. I would say we should be having those conversations, because we don't want to make something absolutely essential that isn't in the Bible.
Right.
That's a problem. But at the same time, whenever you put together something like that, there's a lot that has to get filled in.
True.
So there is an interpretive element to it, filling in some of the blanks. And I think that's actually what our scripture reading should be doing. It should be provoking those sorts of mental, like, I wonder if, it's literally written that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving you certain details and not giving you other details, so that you can meditate on the word, that you don't just read it. It's not this mechanical thing. It's like, you know what, I'm going to let this simmer. I'm going to sit on this for a little while. And I wonder, did Jesus laugh? Did he not laugh? Oh, and here's what I think. But here's bottom line, what it actually says. This must be the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think...
Well, that's what I liked when I stumbled upon Jonathan Pajot on YouTube, I guess it was he looks at things symbolically and patterns, through patterns in the Bible. And that's, I obviously, well, not obviously that I did it, but when I was reading the Bible, it was obvious to me that there were definitely patterns of repeating things, and how they happened and so forth. So yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. Well, he has very detailed explanations on what he sees as patterns and stuff. So, and when you're talking about just reading it, it's very interesting. Sometimes, when he'll explain something and he says, yeah, that's the same pattern. That's this. And can link it back to other things in the Bible. And you can see, yeah, that was what he was talking about on the gospel series with Jordan Peterson and the cast, talking about the crucifixion, or leading up to how Jesus went into the garden. He was to pray, but that was like he's undoing or re-entering creation, right? He's going back into the garden. He's
battling the snake.
Yeah.
Right.
All these things, all the way to the fact where he's on the tree, so the tree of life, that was, I can think it be symbolizes it. Yeah. The tree of life that he's on. I don't know. I can't think of all the different, but there's just a dozen different things that he basically unpeels. It's like, wow, that's really cool,
Yeah.
So that I found that that's why, I like to listen to his but that with the one about Jesus never laughed, or it. Not that I know of. I've never saw it in the writing. Maybe but yeah, like you said, I think you make a good argument for the fact that he probably did, but maybe it just wasn't that important that they needed to document it, right?
Well, exactly, right? So what is in the Bible?
The essentials.
What does God tell us? I mean, think about just our own lives. I mean, there's so much that we just don't know.
Yeah.
Answers we just don't get for so many things. And
I don't think definitely the Bible's it doesn't have all the answers in it, because but it has at least the essentials, all you need to know.
Yeah,
and more, but
yeah, he's given us plenty.
Yeah.
Or there's an expression, I haven't used this in a while. I forget where I first heard it, but we know precious little about God, but the little we do know is precious. Right? So we don't know everything, but what we do know, that's enough. That's way more than enough. And some of there's this Bible passage, Proverbs 25:2, I think is where it is. It says, "It's the glory of God to conceal things, and the glory of kings to search them out." So God's glory is sort of like, hey, look, I know every single thing I know all the mysteries of the universe. Mm-hmm. And I sort of wrap them up in all these mysteries and then leave them around as like these little cases for humans to solve. Mm-hmm. And like that is actually we are supposed to be investigating this. We are supposed to be pursuing knowledge and insight and wisdom and all these different things. But I do also think that sometimes we get into that because what we really want to do is we want to be God. We want to know everything. Mm-hmm. And we can't know everything because God is the only one who knows everything. And if we knew everything, then we wouldn't need God, or at least that's
our heads would explode.
Or our heads would explode. But at least that's the theory going on in the garden in Genesis, right? Mm-hmm. That, hey, well, you'll be like God. And what is the implication? Well, then you won't need him. You'll be him, right? And so it's really, you are playing with fire in a sense that you can put yourself in this place where you're taking God off his throne. You're putting yourself on the throne that only he belongs on. And, people will say, oh, well, when we get there, we get to heaven, we see Jesus, whatever, however you want to phrase it,
I'm going to ask him.
I will, or just, we'll know then.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that's true. I think there will always be things that he knows and we don't, because we will always be the creature and he will always be the creator. Mm. The difference will be, we'll be okay not knowing.
Right.
I was actually kind of impressed. One of my kids, we got on something and she just like went straight to that. Well, we won't even need to know, and she'd like, so clearly they had been paying attention, even though it really seems like they're not most of the time, but, no, we don't even need to ask. I mean, there would be so much joy and laughter.
Okay.
That we just won't even care. It'll be that good. It'll be that awesome.
Yeah. Well, that was this is a little slightly different, but I did have that question. Also, I think that I sent you the other day was, what did I had just had it in my head, and now when I go to say it, I'm going to forget. Oh, did Jesus have a hard time? Was it something like Jesus had a hard time explaining, or was he? Did he get impatient with us because he was trying to explain things to us, but yet he has access to infinite knowledge and wisdom, and
Do you think Jesus struggled to relate or explain eternity with finite beings because it is simply beyond our understanding? Did it frustrate him? That's the text.
Yeah, that was the question I asked. Yeah, I had a little more time to think it through when I typed it in.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean,
I was watching a video and they were trying to explain, okay, you talk about 3D, we live in a 3D world, right? The length, width, depth, and then talk about like a fourth dimension, right? And they say time is the fourth. Time is the fourth dimension, but some of these physicists have said there are countless dimensions, or there are 11 dimensions. I don't know. I've heard different numbers when they do their calculations. It has to have this many dimensions, otherwise the problems don't work out the way they should, or whatever. Or this is what comes out of the equations that they come up with. So how would all that to say, how do you visualize, or how can we visualize an object with multiple, like more than 3D, more than three dimensions, like a 4-dimensional an object? So then that's what led me to believe, led me thinking, wow, I wonder what God, he has the understanding of whatever dimensions there are, and maybe he'll tell us how many there are, or maybe we won't even care when we get there. But
or we'll just be in it,
it will just be in it, and it'll just make sense. But when he's, now that he's at that point in his life, he's fully mature, obviously has full understanding. He's not like a child anymore. So, so he has access to all that knowledge. And then he's trying to explain to us, it's like, teaching a person that's playing chess checkers, how to play chess or something. There's other aspects to it. Does he get frustrated? Did he get frustrated? Obviously, he did seem to get impatient and frustrated with us.
Pharisees for sure.
Yeah,
and disciples on occasion too.
Yeah, when he would do things and they were like, "What? Didn't I just tell you that?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "What?" But but anyway, so
yeah, for sure. I just because it's actually in there where it sounds like he's getting frustrated. But it wasn't to the level of sin. It was more like, well, you stubborn, hard-hearted people, you slow to understand all that, he actually says it, like that's one of the things in the Road to Emmaus. That's definitely, I don't know how frustrated or impatient he was.
I was trying to come up with the right term for that,
yeah,
but that was
I don't
the
know.
closest I could get. Or my closest my thumbs could get when I was texting.
O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Sounds like, you idiots.
See, you're taking a 4-dimensional explanation and you turned it into 2 dimensions.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Your translation.
Yeah.
Amos' translation to the New Testament. You bunch of morons. Would you just follow me? And
the EGV.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just one.
Yeah.
But that's Luke 24, verse 25. There's also, I think, when he's in a boat, that's the end of Mark 4. Why are you so afraid? Mark 4, verse 40. Right? He's asleep. They took him in a boat just as he was, and other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. They woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Right? So certainly they got frustrated with him. I mean, they're rebuking Jesus. "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. This is now verse 40. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear. He probably took them to task, right? and said to one another, who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? So I would say that's like a justified taking to task, right? Like there are
Right.
times when you take your kids to task, so to speak. You read them the riot act, and it's because they were stupid, and they had it coming. And then there are times where you're just cranky, and it inconvenienced you, and and it's a challenge, I think, because, this is why a lot of people are avoiding parenting these days, because you have to try to dissect that, separate that. Like, what's my own issues here and what's actually what they need and really going on here for discipline and all that. So, yeah, he probably got pissed off. You dummies, how many times?
Well, he could be truly righteously angry.
Well, exactly.
We can't do that.
I mean, God gets angry, and he is God in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
God gets frustrated with Moses and the Israelites walking around in the desert, and why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So,
anyway,
yeah.
Random thoughts.
Is the horse dead?
I think the ice cream's gone. So yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys out there got some laughs as well. Hopefully it was enlightening and helpful discussion and not just us pontificating or analyzing useless, unimportant information. It does matter that Jesus was fully human. It does matter that he was also fully God, and that's how we know we have somebody who's just like us, who knows what it's like. We can go to him, we can pray, but it's also how we know that he fully bore the weight of sin when he went to the cross. If he's just God, he doesn't really, how could he die, first of all? How could he bear that? But anyway, that's off on another thing. Maybe we can dive into next time if we don't go into these character ideas that we talked about. And don't forget to like and share and subscribe and to buy these books. 25,000 copies. That's the goal. 25,000 copies in 25. Tell your friends and your entire congregations and neighborhoods, please. 25,000 copies. That's the goal.
All right.
We're going to do it. All right, y'all. Great to be with you. Catch up with you later. See ya.
See ya.